Great. All right, y'all. Welcome back to Human on the Daily. I am so stoked for today's guest, Miss Judi Holler, the one and only. Julie, I was honestly trying to think. Someone was like, "How did you actually meet her?" And I feel like we met at the Foundress.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually I just walked in and was like, "Hi, I'm Megan. Who are you?" Like just started chatting. And turns out you're an absolute badass. So,
Goes
um,
both ways, babe. Goes both ways.
so I would love, because I mean, they heard the professional background bio at the beginning of the show, but I would love to hear how you introduce yourself. Like, give us just like a little intro into like who you are as a human, and then we'll dive into all the amazing things that you've done and get chatting.
I love this. And I used to get so in my head about this question. Um, and like, who are you? Like,
Yeah.
who are you? And, now at 47 years old, I can confidently answer that question. And I'm so proud of that. And I'll tell you who I am. I'm a hype woman. A fire starter. I'm an energy shifter. And that's what I do. That is who that is who I am in my core. There's a lot of stories behind how I became to be that way and why I am that way. And I take that hype, that energy, that fire, and I put it on stages around the United States and shift
Mm-hmm.
frequencies in rooms as a keynote speaker and just really try to help people reframe fear and get more comfortable in uncomfortable situations. But most importantly, um, man, just remind people of their power. And I use my energy to do
Yeah.
that. So I'm a fire starter, baby. I'm an energy
Yes, you
sifter,
are.
shifter. I'm a hype woman. That's who I am. And my last name is Holla. So
Yeah.
like I was born with that last name, right? So how God gave it to me, God
Yeah.
gave it to me and I'm using it for good. And I feel
Yeah.
really proud of that.
I love it. Even when I saw you sign on to the Zoom for this interview and I saw that your tag is just holla, I was like,
Holla.
hell yes.
When I just
That
did
is
that recently, girl, like I was like, just Judy or, Judith, whatever. And I'm like, no, yo, I'm jumping in. So I'm now jumping into like my client meetings, my sales calls.
mm,
It is
love
holla,
it.
baby. Like, why am I hiding? It is me. I am
It's so
it.
you.
It's so me.
Like
And so,
anyone who
yeah,
watch is seeing the video of this, because I'll probably pull a couple video clips, but
yeah,
she's got a bomb sequin jacket on, she's
I do
bright. Like it's
checks.
so your personality. Like you're just such a ball of energy and like this
Oh, thank
light
you.
that's just magnetic.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And, it is who I am. It is what I do. And now I am claiming it, owning it, and taking that ownership into the next 10, 15 years of my life and my career as a speaker, writer, poet, artist, etc. So it's been a lot of fun building
Oh yeah, you are.
this new version of myself because aren't we always transforming, Dr. Daly? I think we're always transforming, right? Like
100%. And
that's
if
the
we're
game.
not, I mean,
Yeah.
what that's part of life, right?
Yeah.
And I'll do actually like a total pitch for people to follow your Instagram, like at bare minimum, like go follow her Instagram and watch her slam poetry. Like I've loved
I gotta
watching
get
like
you
the
to a
little clips.
show. I'm going to do a
Yeah.
show where, okay, so I'm going to invite the Foundress. So some of my peeps from Foundress.
Okay,
So I'll
sweet.
let you
Yeah.
guys know the next time I professionally slam. I've only made it to the second round and my goal is to literally win one of these slams. I will
Yeah.
at some point. But anyway, I'll get you to a slam. I'm doing them locally, but thank you for that. It's been such a
Yeah.
fun, it's this thing that I've been wanting to do and secretly doing. Now I'm starting to put it on Instagram and just fucking around. You know what I mean? It's been fun.
Okay, I actually am gonna jump into that. Like screw the list of questions that I had for us. What what do you think was the catalyst then? Because if you've wanted to do it for a long time, what was the like, all right, no, we're going for it moment?
Man, getting the right people in the right room with me
Mm-hmm.
that saw it, supported it, and woke her up. I hadn't
Yeah.
really told but I hadn't really told anybody about it. I was hiding it, right? And I had
Mm-hmm.
I walked into January of this year with a different team and my team transitioned, people left, come and go. And that just opened me up to really explore what's next. And I decided to hire two women and a creative and,
Lisa and
some creative
Sage.
House of, yes, Lisa and Sage,
Yeah.
House of Nectar. I hired two women, House of Nectar, Lisa and Sage, to come in, and they had no experience in this business. They don't know anything about keynote speaking. So they came with no bad habits, like literally
That's sometimes the best, like the fresh set of eyes that can just transform because they don't have any expectations on what it's supposed to be.
Yo, for real. So we were literally in April. I'm going to tell this story. We tell this story on the podcast. They're coming on my show next week. And literally, this is how it happened. So, they're doing all this investigative work, really getting to know me as a human, right? To be able to pull out, like, what's the unique thing? Like, if you think about anything you're doing, whoever's listening right now, we have to be able to cut through the noise. And the only thing that's going to make you original is you. Like, you're the original, like your stuff, your story, your swagger, your vibe, everything, right? Like, you've got a look, you've got a swagger, you've got a story, right? Like, that's your sauce, right? And so they're trying to figure out what my sauce was. And so I will never forget it. I was at Fashion Square running to pick up a gift for my sister, and they leave me this like voice text, and it was like, okay, Holler, because they had heard about like that I loved, they knew I loved rap music and that I sort of write poetry and freestyle some things and do all this stuff. And they're like, all right, do not, like, we're just going to put this out here. Don't shoot us down. But we're going to need you to write a little speaker, because I have a course called Speaker School and we were in promotion for it. And they were like, we're going to need you to write like a speaker school rap. So we're going to leave it there. We want you to write a freaking rap. And I was like, what? And I was like, I pulled over my car, and I had just gotten egg white bites from Starbucks. And on the back, I still have the wrapper on this. And I love that it's on the back of a wrapper. I was writing a rap on the back of the wrapper. Anyway, so I have the Starbucks. I just start jamming, and I'm taking like Belle Biv DeVoe's like Do Me. I don't know if anybody knows that jam, but like the time was 6 o'clock on the Swatch watch. No time to chill, got a date. I was like, the time is 10 o'clock on the conference clock. No time to wait. Got a stage. Can't be late. Hey, about to drop the mic. Move into the green room. Ooh, let's do this. Brush my hair, say a prayer, step on stage. Oh, something. I'm really going to do this. Something like that. So I just spit like that to them. I'm like, so here's what I came up with. They're like, Judi, you just did that in 10 seconds. That is so fun and so cool. Let's tap into that. So I think that playful, silly, little funny Belle Biv DeVoe remix woke up like it was two people outside of my friend group that have been watching me do this forever that saw something, and they're like, well, why aren't we doing more of this? Where is that? And let's go play with that. And it was just this permission to play, really, truly, that popped it all off and just made me go, this is it. And if you'd ever seen my keynotes before, I had been kind of doing free verse and spoken word, and without even realizing I was like formally memorizing monologues and doing it. And, so it's just so aligned, and it's been a little dream of mine. And I just never thought it was possible, or that I was worthy, or that I was ready. And I had no formal training, and I'm 40 at the time. I was dreaming about this at like 43, 42. And I'm like, I'm too old. I've missed my chance, all the shit we do. And so that's how it began. A permission to play, people from the outside coming into my business, reminding me of my power. And then me being brave enough to say, okay, I'm willing to look stupid. I'm willing to not be perfect. I'm willing to put it on Instagram and just go play like letting go of control and just being willing to surrender to the stupidity and the magic of all of it. Right.
Yeah. I love that so much. Like, I feel like there were so many little nuggets that almost pretty much everybody can resonate with, right? Like, you even touched on the fact everyone has those thoughts go through their heads. Like, we all feel like, oh, I'm not worthy, or oh, it's going to be ridiculous, or oh, who's going to like it? Like, we're all human. Like anyone, even the people that you look up to,
human on the daily,
feel the same way. And I like back at the beginning of when I asked you this, you pointed out pretty quickly that you needed like two major things. One, you needed to create the white space. Like, you needed people to leave so other new people could come in.
Oh, big
and
time.
That could apply, like, sometimes it's people, sometimes it's place, but like something needs to give, and like a door closes so that another one can open, kind of concept.
So good.
And that the people that are coming in were those people that would see you and support you. I know I've had conversations with other people, and I feel like we've talked about it at one of like the get-togethers that we've run into each other at, of if you have people around you who are like try to be too reasonable or try to be practical, it can kind of shut you down a little bit when you have this big, bold idea. And so to have the right people that are going to hype you up, like have their own holla girl.
Yes, they like hype it, like they see it, like, and that takes a level of trust.
Ooh,
like,
yes,
keep in mind,
go bigger.
Yes, and go bigger. Like they were like, yes, I see it. That's such an improv thing, like heighten and explore. That's the yes and like, yes, I'll take what you just said to me and I'm going to add some craziness to it. Like, let's go play down that
Yeah.
hole. So, and then there's also a level of trust. So keep in mind, we've been working together. Like I've been working with Lisa since last October. And the whole reason I got hooked up with Lisa is because I thought I was going to start a sequin jacket line. Like I was so lost. I didn't know what was going on. I was like feeling this transformation and this change. Like I knew I was ready for something more. And I was like, maybe it's a sequin jacket line. And we're still making a sequin jacket, but
I was about to
obviously
say, I was like, I really want this to still happen
I'm
because
still making a sequin
I
jacket.
actually heard about that like through the grapevine before it pivoted, and I was like, wait, I want one.
It's coming. It's just, it's probably going to be more something I'm making for myself right now, but we've got other ideas that are going to support the keynote business, which is, my passion and my purpose in the world. And it's also like the fashion game. We know a lot of fashion girls and it is a whole nother ball game to be getting into. But again, is this a distraction? Is this me distracting myself from, what am I afraid of here? Because at the end of the day, I was put on this planet. I'm a keynote speaker. That is all I've ever wanted to do my whole life. And, getting distracted from that purpose, your fortune lives in your ability to focus. We're focused, you get really fortunate in a lot of areas because you're putting your energy
it's this like one big channel. That was probably one of the hardest things for me to learn. I've definitely talked about it on this podcast before because like with my ADHD and Enneagram 7, like every little bit about my personality allowed me to use the excuse, kind of an excuse,
for sure,
to spread my focus and try to do too many things at once. So like really honing in and staying focused. I love that.
It's so true. And fear hates that. And like fear hates when you're focused, because when you're focused, you become really hard to stop. Because when you change, fear's like, oh, if she gets focused and she's like, goes all in on her artistry and her poetry and her platforms and her stages, like if I can keep her distracted, doesn't mean all this other stuff doesn't matter. But if I can keep her distracted, she won't change because I need her to
it's like you
have
this backup excuse of like, oh, this came up, or oh, I got distracted. And the older I have gotten and the more I've like dove into personal development, like who I am and how I function, I've totally realized that fear, like all these distractions that seem like, oh, maybe it's just this thing that I'm excited about, is actually fear trying to masquerade.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Damn right. Damn right. And so to like button up your question, all of that. And I had met Lisa in October for that reason. So by the time Sage came in, and we like officially, I decided I'm going to make this investment in these creatives because I had believed in the work Lisa was doing. I had a few months with her and then Sage came on board in January. This wasn't like, by the time they were asking me to like rap on my Instagram or like explore this was like late April,
there was
early
already
May.
that bond
We were building such deep trust, and it continues to be. Now here we are in September, like, so I think you have to really trust and respect who you're working
100%.
with because it's very vulnerable. It's very vulnerable. Yeah.
No, I love that. And speaking to that, like fear being able to masquerade as a distraction, something that I've heard you bring up on like Instagram and on your podcast, shameless plug for your podcast as well, which is Yes And. How did you learn for now? How did you learn to permission to pivot at all times?
Always, baby.
You never have to stick with one thing. How did you learn to discern like your gut instincts versus fear?
Because fear does manifest in the gut, right? Like, and it can manifest anywhere. Every chakra is going to feel fear. Like if we want to go to, I don't know much about the chakras, but I'll get headaches. I will feel like I can't breathe, like throat, head, tummy, right? Like your legs, everything feels heavy, right? I think fear can manifest anywhere, right? So for me, it's more a conversation of like, okay, like, I feel like the question, and let me make sure I understand, it's more like, how do you discern when to move versus like what's keeping me safe and
like
what's
when
holding
is it
me back?
Fear that's like trying to distract you, or a fear that's trying
like,
to show you a different way versus no, this is what you're supposed to do.
This is where you need to be going. Yeah. So for me, it is always a conversation of, do I feel like when I think about doing something, spoken word, say I'm going into my first slam, spoken word, do I feel like restricted? Like I want to come into myself, crawl inside of my own skin, like sick. Like, when you get on the phone with someone or you meet someone and you just know there's an energy there, like, and it feels restrictive versus expansive. Like I know if I feel like I'm expanding, like I'm scared, but it feels like expansive. It feels new. It feels exciting. Then I know that is probably, a route I need to take, like a place I need to keep going. But if I feel like restricted and sick, I mean, this can even be in doing work you love. There are clients I've signed on with, or certain, you know, speaking cohorts I've had to partner with. And I knew, even though I was doing work I loved, I knew it wasn't for me. And my fear was sort of manifesting because it felt restrictive. So I always am kind of listening. Do I feel expansive? Do I feel restricted? Because your gut always knows what's up. And I'm like, you know, if I'm not sleeping, if I'm getting headaches, if those are all, like, I'm water, like I'm a water symbol. I was born in that energy. So
Same.
if I don't feel like if I don't feel you know, I don't know. And I also, like, this is a little like Bazi Chinese astrology, but it's like I was also born in the dragon. So not the year of the dragon. I'm not talking about like I'm talking about like Chinese, like Bazi, like the
Okay, yeah.
chart of like reading your destiny, right? And it's a whole nother thing. Google it. It's Bazi. It's super dope. But I have some dragon in me, and people who are born with the dragon are born with a gut instinct, which a lot of people work so hard to figure out, like this question, like, how do I trust my gut? How do I know? Like I was born with that instinct, which is really cool. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is I know another way I know that if something isn't right, it doesn't, like, my tummy's upset. And it's not because I've had too much dairy or I'm not eating right. It's typically because I'm not having a conversation I need to be having, or I'm saying yes to things I shouldn't be saying yes to. And that's why I bring it up. And Bazi for me has been so incredible because, like, it's this spiritual sort of competitive edge I have. And it's really like the auspicious timing of dates, right? And like how you can kind of plan and make decisions, when to push, when to pull. But one of the things my Bazi healer told me, she's like, you were born in the dragon. This means you were born with the gut. So Judi, if you are feeling sick to your tummy, like, it's probably not the dairy, babe. You probably aren't having the right conversation. You're probably working with the wrong people. And like, I think of my team, I had a team member leave in January, and I was so irritable and so sick. And so, like, for the year leading up, I think I'd gotten to a place of outgrowing that
Yeah.
relationship and outgrowing each other. And I wasn't saying what I needed to say and clear as kind. And so I was gaining weight and having gut issues, and just my skin was like, so your body is
Your
gonna
body
tell
will
you.
100%. There's a book called The Body Keeps a Score as well, which is
Oh,
like
never heard
right
of
in
that.
line with this. But I love that you brought this in because it's so true. Like, our body will tell us. Now, it's not going to be as clear cut of like, this is the exact thing in your life that's off.
Correct. You got to
No,
do the
like, you
work.
do have to kind of figure it out. But if you can learn to listen to your body and figure, like, recognize when that's coming on, and then step back and be like, okay, because at that point you do have a guts instinct. Like, you will know what area of your life it's trying
No,
to tell you, if you are ready to listen to it. And I
if
think
you are
that's the
ready.
other kicker, is that if you are ready to listen to it, because
Takes
we can be
guts.
really good at ignoring things, and it's our body will let us know and let us know and let us know. Like, it might start as like a small tummy ache, and then it's gonna like hit you with a 2x4 if you don't pay
Like,
attention.
yeah, we ignore those signs, you know? And so, I mean, it's such a beautiful question, and it looks a little different for everybody, I would assume,
Yeah.
but I just think you have to listen to your body. And I think the older I get, the more I realize, like, the more and I get this, like, I know you're going to get this, is what I meant to say, because you're a fitness babe. Like, you invest in your health, like, you are really into listening to your body, and, all of that. And I have learned, certainly as an entrepreneur, the older I get, and just in business, like, there are rhythms to it. And I think the more I can incorporate, like, the way I actually feel into the
Mhm.
decisions I make, the partnerships I bring on, the people I hang with, like what I'm reading, like, because we are
Yeah.
70% water. And we, like, think about that. Like, as a human being, we are 70% water, and water moves. It was meant to move, and it has a vibration. There's
Yep.
this insanely dope study. You got to Google this. It's called the Water Consciousness Study, done by a Japanese doctor by the name of Dr. Emoto. Okay. So he did like this research with this team. He's now passed away, but for 20 years, he became like one of the most famous water researchers of our time. And he went in with the team. They took a bunch of water from the same body of water. Okay. So one lake, and they divided the water. This, you guys, this is going to blow your mind. And especially when you Google these images, you cannot unsee this stuff. So they divide the water into two sections. Group A, Group B. So Group A, they put it in all these petri dishes, and they prayed over some of the water. They played Mozart and classical music to some of the water. They would tell the water, you're beautiful. The world is abundant. You're thriving. You're amazing. We love you. You're safe. Mozart, Mozart, music, music, prayer, prayer. Put it into a freezer, froze it. Then Group B, same thing, same body of water, same day, divided it into petri dishes, and over this water, it was like death metal. It was, I hate you. I'm going to kill you. I'm coming for you. You're ugly. Some of the water was ignored altogether, like wasn't even said shit to. Okay.
Yeah.
Put that in the freezer, freeze it. They come back 2 days later. And when they pull all the petri dishes out, this is why you got to Google it. You can't unsee it, because the water, group A, that was prayed over, blessed, abundant thoughts, literally formed the most spectacular, like ice crystals. They look like diamonds. It's stunning. The water that was ignored, hated on, and played not so positive music, whatever, thoughts, sounds, vibrations, it was black. It looked like Mars. It looked like cancerous cells.
Wow.
It was like dark, muddy, same water, same lake. So again, the point is, what you say to yourself matters. What you listen to matters. What you read matters. Who you hang with matters, right? Like having the HOLLA hype people in your world, like it matters. So if you're not getting it, like this is why, like, and you are water. So you're 70% water. And like this matters. And so again, coming back to the gut and trusting it, like you got to listen to her, because you've got to listen to yourself, because you are very deeply affected by what you bring in. And this is why what you bring in matters. And it's why what you say to someone at the checkout line, like it's going to impact their entire, and then it impacts what happens when they go home. Like it matters. It really matters. 70% water.
Oh, I love that so much, because I've heard other studies. Like there's some really cool research. I'm not very good at like remembering who does research, so I won't even like attempt to say who the actual team was. But I do know that there's really cool studies on like people. We tend to pick up the habits pretty quickly of like the 5 people we're around. Like if we change the 5 people that we're around the most, our habits will start to mimic theirs. So like it speaks to being very conscious of who you choose to be around, like the energy that you choose to be around. But I love, that's the first time that I've heard such a good research on words mattering. Like we've heard them before, right? Like I feel like a lot of people at this point have heard the like plants that are have words of affirmation tend to thrive more, but that one's
it's
powerful.
wild. You got to Google the pphotos, like the images of the survey, because, or the research rather, because it just, I couldn't unsee it. And it would just, it shaped so much for me. And I'm like, wow, that shook me. Like I've always known like positive affirmation.
Yeah, we know
I
it, but that's a very visual.
You can't unsee it.
Yeah, because something that I think is very true, people almost, this isn't like, it's not black and white, but we really don't need a lot more education. Like me just like spouting a research study to an extent that doesn't necessarily like grab someone, but we do need inspiration. And I feel like something like a visual like that is that stays with you. Like you said, like you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Speaking of can't unsee, in a very positive way, I love your sequin jackets. We already kind of talked about it. And I heard on one of your recent podcasts that you actually wear sequins every time you get on like a sales call or a speaking gig, even if no one can see you.
Yeah.
Which I love. So I want to speak to like the energy that brings and how it changes how you show up.
Yeah. I love that you pulled that out. That's like a cool extraction. Like, yeah, like I think sequin's a strategy because you can't play small in sequin. Right. Like, and people, whether it like it's visual. So when you're out, like you can't hide in sequin. And that's the whole point, right? It takes guts, but it also, you know, makes a statement or says something before you have to say anything. And for me, it's always been my thing. So I was like, it raises my vibration. It walks cool conversations up to my, like, I don't have to, like, if you're nervous about networking, I'm a little introverted, y'all. I'm more introverted than people would think. Networking's nerve-wracking, right? So like, I'm like, okay, great. This is going to do the work. Like, this is going to do work for me. It's going to open up a conversation, something other than the freaking weather. Like, this is going to open up a conversation about fashion and fun and energy. And like, and that's who I am anyway. So it started as a strategy in that way. I've always loved sequin. I started wearing it to networking events, like in my corporate career. And certainly now as a speaker, I wear it on stage. I wear it like I'm wearing it on this podcast interview because I just know it's going to raise my frequency. But even when people are watching me, so I'm making sales calls in sequin because there is an energetic, you know, kind of coming back to the woo-woo of it. Like for me, it's fun, it's playful, it raises my vibration. It just reminds me like I'm in charge here. I don't want to play small, and they may not see me. They may not see any of this, but I see it, I feel it. And it just, I get up, I get ready. Like when I know I'm in like a pitching day or a sales call day or a like like making moves for myself day. Like I get up and get moving and I put the lipstick on, I put on the sequin jacket, and I just kind of get in the frequency of like where I want to go and who I want to be. And it just helps me. It's this little Judy trick I've been using for
Yeah.
years, and I
I
love
love
it.
that so much. And what's funny, one, I feel like every single keynote speaker I've met is far more introverted than people would assume. Like all of
Yeah.
them seem to be more introverted. And I accidentally did the same thing because I have the Betsy Johnson sequin boots,
Oh, dope.
and I wore those to an event like a couple years ago and realized it was like an automatic conversation starter. Like
Yeah.
I've never met so many new people in one setting. And I was like, I'm doing this every time. This is
It's the
amazing.
best. Yeah, it's like pick your thing. Like maybe it's funky glasses, dope sneaks. Maybe you dress
Mm-hmm.
monochrome orange. Maybe you're only in hot pink. Maybe you rock like whatever your thing is. Like I think it's an understated conversation. I think it's a really dope networking hack, especially if you're introverted
Mm-hmm.
and nervous. Who isn't in rooms like that? Like and also it's this ability for you, like, we're all artists, like really truly, if we're saying
Yeah.
or selling anything, we have to find a way to cut through noise. And I think you
Yes.
can find a unique way to do that and walk really cool conversations right up to you with little effort that are aligned to like who you are as a human being because you're choosing to wear it. So this is like saying something before I have to say anything. And I don't know. And it's better than like the weather. You know what I mean? Like I hate small
Yeah.
talk.
Like small
So
talk is not,
yeah,
it's just, yeah, it's not
yeah,
super engaging. Like I appreciate the ease of it at times
yeah,
for people. And
yeah. It's
I
like,
would rather go deep and go deep pretty quickly, actually.
or at
Or like
least
if
like
I'm going
have
to do small
something
talk, I'm going to talk
cool.
about like fashion
Yeah, like have something
or
cool in your back
traveling
pocket.
or, yeah.
Yeah, like I always know like the conversation if I'm wearing a sequin jacket, like the conversation will start about sequin. And then I always like my go-to networking question is, so what are you working on that's exciting right now? Like, what are you most
Oh, I
excited
love
about?
that because
Isn't
I've
that
been
a
trying
good
to figure
one?
out something other than what you do because I
Yeah,
really hate
because that's
pigeonholing someone.
weird.
We do it as a society, right? It's like societal conditioning. Say, oh, what do you do? And then we wonder why our identity is so tied up in our career or our titles and
Yes.
our accolades.
Yes, that's exactly right. So, like, own it. So, I don't even put people in that box because I'm so much more than what I do. So, what you'll watch is like when someone tells you about something exciting coming up, you'll watch them light up. You'll find out, like, what, they could have a million projects going on. They could be talking about being a mom. They could talk about
Mm-hmm.
like something, a project at work. They could talk about something that just happened with their bestie in Cancun because they just got
Yeah.
back, like, or they're booked. She just booked her next vacation. Like, I don't know, you'll hear the most interesting things, and that's kind of one of my go-tos, and it sort of kicks off a conversation. So steal that idea for sure. That's like my
Well,
fave
I'm actually going
networking.
to steal it right now and ask you what you're most excited about coming up.
Oh my gosh. So I would say, I mean, my gosh, we're going right back into Speaker School launch, which is so exciting. So Speaker School is my online course for people who want to be keynote speakers or people who want to speak more on
Yeah.
stage and understand the business
Use
of
the voice more,
keynote.
understand how to better.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
business of it, because you got to protect yourself. What happened? How do you look like a pro? How do you contract? How do you make things mutually
All
beneficial?
the
How are
little
you grow?
things that you probably have no idea about until you get in it, right? It's
No,
like
how do you?
entrepreneurship. Like no one gives you like, you don't know what you're doing until you get, actually, let's be real. No one really knows what they're doing to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And like, at least there's certain, like you said, like contracts, like I wouldn't have even thought of that. It makes obvious sense when you say it, but
Yeah.
being like having the knowledge ahead of time and being more protected. But that was, I had a feeling it might be speaker school and I
Yeah.
really wanted you to like shamelessly plug it on here. And I was like, how do I get her to talk about it? All
Oh,
right.
it's so good. Yeah, we're in that mode right now, and it's just, listen, I've been a professional and I'm an active keynote speaker, right? So the course is sort of yours for life. You pay once, you come in, and it's on demand, self-paced. But the gold is really in the community and those live calls.
Mm-hmm.
Like we spin leads to each other, we open doors for each other, we're connecting. There are people. We've got Soul Cycle instructors, we've got someone with the Boston Red Sox, we've got a Harley. Like we've got DJs, we've got stylists. Like
That's
it is
awesome.
so dope. Like the people that are in it, and it's only just beginning, and I'm so excited about it. So yeah, I mean, if you're listening right now and like that sounds dope, there's so much poser nation out there. And one of the other
Mm-hmm.
things, and a lot of my keynote speaker friends, like they're like, I don't want to do a course. I'm like, I'm doing this because like I remember when I started looking around, going like, how did she go from literally corporate America to speaking in arenas? Like people are always like,
Yeah.
one thing led to another. I'm like, yo, what's the one thing?
What's
Like we
what's the
talked,
one thing?
like
Like,
what's the
yeah.
one thing that led to another? So like, I'm just sharing my journey, the real deal, non-poser nation view of like what it looks like to get in the game. And as I update the course, you will get those updates. And that's my favorite thing
I
about
love
it. So
that.
you're in and you like, you know, for example, like say I book my first, I mean, think my largest audience in person has been like 7,000, but like you get your first 30,000 person arena, dude, you're going to learn a lot in that experience. So boom, we're going to drop in a module and say, guys, this is what you do. If you ever get booked arena, here's what you want to know. And here's how it can help you. So, you know, as
Yeah.
I grow and evolve and make pivots and change as I age and things change for me, you know, how can I help people do the same? So thanks for asking them.
Oh,
That's
I
what I'm the
love that.
most excited about. Yeah. We're super
Yeah.
hyped.
And I love that not only, so I mean, I know you and I know the concept of like, if you want to do X, like if you want to make the jump from corporate to keynote speaker, one of the major keys or major things that will help catapult you there is to find someone who has done the thing
Done
that you
it.
want to do. Like
Yes.
that is a game changer.
Yes.
And it's not like, not only do you get that, but I'm gonna like double down on something you said about the community calls and circling back to what you talked about with bringing on House of Nectar and how they hadn't worked in that field. And so it was like fresh eyes. Well, you get that many different people from so many different fields and backgrounds. It is fresh eyes on everything that you are accomplishing and trying to do with your speaking. It was very
Yeah.
similar to like when I started, and I originally started entrepreneurship as owning a physical therapy clinic. Obviously, that is drastically pivoted at this point. But even then, when I started, I got so much, I honestly got better advice from non healthcare professionals that were looking in on the business
Yes.
versus the people that were
Yes.
doing the exact same thing that I was
Yes.
trying to do.
Exactly. Like I had a call right before this with one of my speaker schoolers. Because I with a few because this group was a little easier to manage. We did some one-on-one calls. And so I was just on with one of the gals who is with a major league ball company, right? And she's like, how do I craft the speech? How do I do this? And I've got all these ideas. And I'm like, just giving her ideas. I'm like, you know, think about like your background. Like you're not trying to go be a professional speaker, but you're getting tapped because she's a big executive in Boston. Like you're getting tapped to speak and do your own speeches. And she's trying to figure out how to position and package it. I'm like, have some fun with this. Like you work for an iconic baseball franchise. Like what about the bases? What about, what is it? What is first base, second base, third base? What does it look like to come home to yourself? How have you come home to yourself?
Oh, I
We're really
love
like,
that.
isn't that fun? So like, this is what I'm saying. We get on these calls and like in this community, like jam. And she's like, I never would have thought, like, here it is right under your nose. And House of Nectar did that for me. Like my last name has been Holler my whole life. They're like, why is HOLLA not anywhere in like, you know, so
Yeah.
sometimes
Well,
it
you're too
takes
close to the
someone.
source. So it takes
Correct.
someone who's external to come and like give you like
Yes.
more of a bird's eye view and then hone in on the thing.
Yes. And now she's building this dope talk about alignment and weaving her stories into each base along the way. And actually, you're the iconic franchise. Like you
Oh, that's awesome.
are, like, you know what I mean? And change and all the things. It's so cool. And so that's what's fun about being in a writer's room, right?
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live, they have writers' rooms, and most comedy shows have writers' rooms on purpose. You need to get outside perspective. You need eyes on your work. And it's fun to be able to do that. I mean, Foundress, we've got that community. So again, water, get yourself in the right rooms because it's going to impact the work you make. And these are the conversations we're having inside of speaker school, right? It's so much more than the speech. It's thought leadership, but it's also confidence, it's mental health, it's community, it's all that good stuff. So it's dope. It's so
Yeah.
dope. So that's what I'm excited about. As you
Oh, I love that so much. And I will make sure that all of that info
we'll
is
link
in
up.
the show
We'll link
notes.
up.
Yeah,
We'll link up.
we'll link that. And so circling back to, because fear is your homeboy, right? Like
yes,
y'all,
my
if you
ride or
didn't know,
die.
she has a book. So I know fear is an absent, right? Like it's almost more like we need to come alongside fear. What's your favorite tool or tip to like hype yourself up to take action in spite of fear?
Well, number one, it is the reframe that if I am afraid, I am doing it right. Like
Yeah.
if I feel like an imposter, cool, I'm on
Yeah.
the right
If
path.
you don't, in fact, you're not
You're
going
not
big
doing
enough.
enough. Right. Like, yeah, like if you don't have a little self-doubt, it's not scary. It's not
Yeah.
it. It's
Try
too
again.
safe. Right. If you're feeling perfectionism, welcome. Congratulations, you've arrived. Like if
Yeah.
you are dealing with perfectionism, great. Welcome to the party. Fear is here. That means you are leveling up. You are making a change. So now when I get afraid, okay, and I'm talking about, let's be clear, I'm not talking about like actual danger. Someone is chasing you. Your life is being threatened. Like
That's a different story.
This is why we need our fear. What is my fear here? Because it is an incredible
but
thing
we're
that'll
talking
keep
about
you
like
safe.
have you seen the memes that are like, hey, yo, like I'm not being chased by a tiger. Like, why is my email on a Friday afternoon spiking my anxiety?
Exactly. Like I am not going to die. Like my life is not threatened right here. So I'm talking about the fears that are the monsters in our mind that hold us back from really tapping into our true potential, our true purpose. And let's not forget that purpose is really, my friend Jade Simmons, one of my favorite keynote speakers on the planet, has this beautiful definition of purpose, because I think people are like, what's my purpose? What's my passion? I don't know. And it feels so overwhelming. And we're like, what do I do?
And people want this like crystal clear clarity before they take action. I mean, I can say that because I was that person for a long time until I was like, no, I just need to fuck around and find out and like do the next thing that I feel called to.
Fuck around and find out. So Jade Simmons, like, your purpose is not what you do. Shout out Jade Simmons. Your purpose is not what you do. It is what happens to other people when you do what you do. So this could mean you're meant to be a mom, and that is your calling on this earth. So when you mom as hard as you can mom and you become the best mom on the planet, you are going to impact those kids. It's going to be, that is your purpose. So it's going to change the life, because you're going to be the best mom. Maybe you're meant to be a ball coach. Maybe you're meant to be a chiropractor. Maybe you were meant to be a speaker. Maybe you were meant to be an author. When you show up and do that in the fullest version of yourself, because you know it's your purpose, it is going to impact the people that are a beneficiary of you doing what you do at the highest levels possible, right? And so that is a dope reframe in itself, right? Like, because I know as a speaker, me being the best I can be at that, me being a pro and showing up and doing the work and practicing my craft and running, reps.
You're not doing it for you. You're doing it for them.
It is going to be, selfishly, I fucking love it because it's my purpose, right? But I also know, like, me being the best version of that, me standing and stepping in my truth and my purpose is going to impact all the people that are witness to me living my purpose. Does that make sense?
I love that reframe so much.
That's a Jade Simmons. That was a life changer for me. She's one of my faves, man. She's the real deal. She's a pianist who was like, why can't I take Beethoven and smash it up with hip hop? Like, why can't I take
love
this?
That already.
She's so dope. You got to Google her. She's
give me any rap music that includes strings, and I'm
so dope. She brings pianos on stage, and she's a performer. She's like been playing piano since she was like, I don't know, 8. But she blends all this stuff and then brings people on stage, and like people that have never played an instrument in their life are on stage playing instruments. It's really cool, motivational, inspirational.
That's all right. I'm looking her up right after this.
Anyway, she's all about your purpose. Like, what is your purpose? Well, it's what happens to other people when you live your purpose, right? Because everybody's going to witness that magic and then wake that up in themselves. Remember, we are water. What you say, what you see. So when we see someone else stepping in their purpose, when we see someone like lighting up a room and giving energy instead of taking energy, man, it makes you want to be a better person. When I see someone be kind, I'm like, God, I got to stop being such an ass. When I see someone being like really sweet to their husband, I'm like, I got to stop being such an asshole to my husband. I got to be nice to my wife. Like, you know what I mean? I got to be kinder, patient. Yes, and right. Yeah. So good days and bad days, no toxic positivity here, but you are not it. Like, if you're ever even going through like the shit, you're in the trenches, right? You're dealing with loss, death, disruption, feel it, but you aren't it. Like, I liken it to the flu. Like, you get the flu, you have the flu, but you aren't the flu, right? You may have fear, but you aren't fear. You may have anxiety, but you aren't anxiety itself. You may have depression.
I love that reframe. And I've heard it even of like, who was I talking to? I think it was, so I interviewed Keisha Getbettry, like, I think a week ago, and her and I even talked about this a little bit, and it was you're like, don't say I'm a perfectionist, say I have perfectionist tendencies.
Yeah.
I think it was her that was
talking
separating
about yourself from it.
Like,
I am not it.
Otherwise,
you
start to identify. Yeah. It is a trait, but it is not you. Yes. I love that.
It's a temporary state of being. It is okay. I am in some anxiety right now. I got a dentist appointment next week, girl. I got to get a tooth pulled, my first ever extraction. I'm such a baby. Okay, great. I am not fear itself. I'm in some anxiety right now, but this is a temporary state of being.
It's your body just prepping you.
It's your
for,
body prepping you to go do some badass. You're going to have to go be a badass. Same thing when you go step on stage. Great. Your body's just getting ready to do something extraordinary. Maybe it's before a chemo treatment, a big stage, a doctor's appointment, a date, an
yeah.
interview. Like your
Think about
body's
even that
prepping
feeling that
you.
you get before, like when you work out, like it's like kind of
Yes.
the same, right?
Great
It's your body
example.
prepping you.
Yep.
No, I love that.
To do
So
something extraordinary.
yes, going back to the slam poetry,
Yeah.
because I think that's it's such a phenomenal example. So this podcast is all about like breaking out of the expectations of others and
Love it.
leaning into your authenticity, which is 100% what you've been doing with the slam poetry and HOLLA and bringing in all this stuff that really is like you, and likely involved breaking out of some expectations of like society and other people and all that fun stuff. So obviously it has helped in, like we've talked a little bit about how it's helped. How has it helped in unexpected ways? Like what areas of your life has that improved that you didn't expect to improve along with it?
Oh man. What a beautiful question. Well, I feel like I've always been a pretty confident person because I've been hyping myself up from a really young age. And again, confidence is really truly something you can build. Like you're not
Yeah.
necessarily born with it. Like I just have a high tolerance for pain, like pain being failure, fear, looking stupid. Like I learned so much of that in the improv theater that I just move faster and I'm less perfect because I know
Yeah.
the reps are the game, right? So that has built my confidence because I have proof that I can do hard things and live to talk about it. So I've always been pretty confident. I think poetry is healing. It's this beautiful mix between it's pouring rocket fuel on my confidence because I am finally, for the first time ever, more obsessed with my own opinion than the opinion of other people.
Oh, I love that.
And when you can get to that place, you have made it. Like, I feel like I can say I've made it because I don't care. I am so in joy. I am so in love. And I'm trying to bring to my own poetic voice the work of a light worker. I think there are so many dark things in the world, dark conversations, that I just want to be like that positive poetic voice in an edgy, different way. And so it's been fun for me to play with that. So I think that the answer to your question is number one, it's poured rocket fuel on my confidence in that way that I care more now about my own opinion than the opinion of others. But I also think it's making me a better and more confident performer. And I feel like I've always, cause now I'm actually the shift I've made is I now confidently say, I'm an artist. Like I'm an
Yeah.
artist. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm an
100%, because
artist.
you were already a speaker, but I think
Yeah,
this is just like it's
this is
that next
the next
level.
level.
And it does. I don't think a lot of people necessarily like associate a keynote speaker with being art, but it
Yeah,
so is when it really, especially when you bring all of you and
when
your
you're doing it
uniqueness to it,
different.
that is a form of creativity in art.
Yes. Yeah. And that has been such a kind of goes back to confidence. So the way I get on sales calls, the way I pitch, because I'm so clear and my focus is so honed that I know who I'm for, I know who I'm not for, I know what I want to be, I know who I don't want to be, I know where I want to speak, I know where I don't want to speak, I know the people I want to vibe with, I know the people I don't want to vibe with, I know the rooms I need to be in. So this is the beauty of clarity and really honing your focus and getting clear because it makes making decisions so much easier because you know who you
Yeah.
are and where you want to go. So the confidence, I've always been confident, but I think now it's like next level confidence, like big
Yeah.
girl confidence. Like, I don't care because people are going to hate. People were hating when I was playing it safe, girl, when I was corporate Barbie in the box doing my little safe thing. People were hating. So if people are already talking, let's go give them something to talk about. Bonnie, Ray, thank you
Yeah.
very much. Like, let's go
Yes.
give them something to talk about. Like,
Yeah.
that's the vibe I'm in right now.
And honestly, getting haters goes very similar to like if you aren't having some imposter syndrome or some
Yeah.
kind of fear show up, you're not going
Yeah.
big enough. If you don't have haters, you're probably
You're
not
not playing
speaking
big
your
enough.
truth enough.
You're hiding. You're
Yeah.
hiding. Or you're not
Yep.
breathing oxygen because it's just going to happen. You could do anything. And people like these
Yeah,
days,
you
and
can
I
do
think it's,
everything quote unquote right
yeah,
and still tick someone off. So you know what, just do you.
just do you. Do you. And
Yeah.
people are already talking. People already
And
don't like you. People are already judging you. People are already
yep.
making fun of you. So like, let's go. Let's just
No, I
go.
did a whole podcast episode on it already where it's like allow the haters, because that's going to show you very quickly like who's not for you, and it's going to create the space for the people who are for you to come in.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah,
so agree.
Okay, so I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit with, so the final question that everyone gets is, what's the one thing that's contributed most to breaking free of expectations of others and leaning more into your authenticity? But I feel like we've covered that a ton with the trusting my gut and everything we've talked about. So I'm going to go right into the other final question, which is, this podcast is also all about like showing sides of your humanness, like breaking out of the expectations and parts of you that people may or may not actually see. Like they don't see it on the Instagram feed all the time. So what is something about you that fits that? Which I love what you wrote on your thing, by the way. But I want to kind of see.
Oh, well, the Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And I know like almost every Snoop Dogg lyric from like definitely the Doggy Style album for sure. Like, oh yeah, that's like my little secret thing. The thing that people, so I love this, like when I'm ever asked the question, like, what is the thing like people would be shocked to know about you or whatever?
That's probably a better way to word what I'm trying to say.
It's really good. That I feel like this is why I was qualified to write my book, but I am the biggest fraidy cat you will ever meet on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I have such deep, and I think this is also kind of a beautiful answer to your question about poetry. And I was going to say this, but I'm like, I'm already been talking too long, but poetry is allowing me to heal so many of the things from like little lowercase Judy's life that have held me back as an uppercase Judi, right? I don't know why I'm talking about the alphabet in that way, but like lowercase.
I don't know,
Judy,
but I kind of like it. Like
it's a vibe. So when I was a little lowercase G, I had all these little traumas that I wasn't, we all go through stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'd have wounds, but I'm able to like get it out in poetry, which feels a lot more beautiful and less victim based. It feels more like I'm going to take my pain and write it out and turn it into power. And there's these shirts at the poetry slam I go to that say, shout out Ghost Poetry. They say poetry is cheaper than therapy because I'm able to write about so much of the trauma. So I think to like answer the question and come back to the original, like that thing you wouldn't know about me, because I think we all have a story, but I am the biggest fraidy cat, and I certainly have fear and anxiety. I struggle with anxiety on the daily, pun intended, and work really hard to manage that naturally through my mind and obviously poetry and things like that. But I also feel like it makes me qualified to write a book like Fear is My Homeboy, because I'm walking through it. Like I'm doing things despite my fear every single day, and I'm choosing courage over comfort, and I'm choosing to do the brave thing versus the hard thing. And I think the final thing to say to you here, and this is something I write about in Homeboy, is that there's really two choices. You can make the easy choice, but it's going to equal a hard life, right? But the hard choice is going to really sum up to an easier life. Like hard choices, easy life, right?
So choose your hard.
Choose the hard. And then the easy choices, like ghosting priorities, hitting the drive-through, skipping the gym. Like these are easy choices to make, not having the conversation.
Yeah, but they do make your life harder down the road.
Make your life harder, babe. So you might as well do the hard thing. Which the underrated conversation here is always discipline. And I think that is what separates the great from those who are barely getting by. Like there is a disciplined conversation here. And those of us who are in the game, right?
And it's not motivation. You didn't say motivation.
This is discipline. This is showing up. This is like remembering that pressure makes diamonds, and pressure is a good thing. Like we think we need to avoid pain, but pain is the game, baby.
No, and a lot of times it's a blessing, right? Like if you hadn't had all of, like you said, like the fear and the anxiety, if you hadn't had that, would you have the life that you do now? Would you be creating, like helping people and serving the way you are? I feel like a lot of times we're given these problems or these struggles or these difficulties so that we can make it through to the other side and help others.
Hell yeah. And it's the reframe is like, are you a victim to it? Or are you going to rise up and be a badass? Because I can't deal with the victims. And listen, we're all going to have stuff happen. And I have people around me that have stories. I have a few people in speaker school. Their stories, brought me to my knees, the things they've been through. And I'm like, and they're the brightest lights you've ever
Yeah.
seen. They have stories that need to be on stages. It is unbelievable. And they have turned their pain into power. And I think that is a choice, and that takes work, and that took time to get there. But
Yeah.
we have a choice here. And the victim laziness and victim mentality are like my two triggers, like that I will not tolerate. It doesn't mean you can't feel your pain for a while. I have had my
Yeah,
moments where I'm like,
100% feel your
I'm
pain.
gonna lay in bed. I'm gonna lay in bed for a little while, but then I got to get out of bed. I got to get moving, right? And I've got to figure out how to turn this into where I'm going next. But you got to feel your shit. There's no toxic positivity here, but man, like, you cannot stay there. You got to move, babe. Yeah.
Yep, gotta move. I love that so much. Judi, thank you so much. I feel like,
Thank you.
gosh, I don't even know. Like, this is going to be one of those conversations where, as I go back and edit it, I'm blown away all over again
Oh,
with how many gold nuggets there are in here. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. It was truly an honor to have you on.
Yeah, you're the best. Dr. Daly. Fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you.